Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to another video of Explained series, and in this video we'll specifically talk about the order of execution. Yes, this topic is a crucial interview question, and it is also important for us to understand how the entire transaction is executed and in what order, what goes first, what goes last, and what is in the middle, and everything in terms of how can we go about debugging it and understanding how Salesforce is really doing things behind the scenes while we are really just saving a record or just making some changes, right? So the very first thing that happens is that the original record is loaded from the database. Now, when will this happen? If there's already a record in the database, right? Not for an insert scenario, it's for an update scenario. And then the old values will be overwritten with the new values, right? In case you have old values, only then. And if this particular change comes from a standard UI page, which is normally our page layout where we create a new record, in that case, it will check for layout specific rules, valid field formats, maximum field length, and other field definitions, right? All the metadata characteristics, like, is there any layout specific rule added, whether this field is required or not? Is there any specific field format that's being violated? Or maybe the length of the characters of a field might be exceeding the limit. Those kind of checks are put into place and an error is thrown on the screen. But if it comes from a custom source, which might be a custom code or a custom invocation, in that case, it only checks for the foreign keys, right? The relationships. Now, there's a consideration here. If multi-line items are created, only then custom validation rules are run again, right? If multi-line items are created, only then custom validation rules are run, but standard validation rules run here. All right. What's the next thing that happens? The very next thing that happens is the before record triggered flows get executed. Now, this is relatively new compared to when we started off Salesforce, right? So you have record triggered flows and you have before and after scenarios, right? So all your before record triggered flows will execute at the very beginning, even before the triggers. That's where they are placed, right? Which means anything that you have to save in terms of the same object, you might want to add any values to add any field updates to the same record that is currently in the transaction, you can execute it in your record triggered flows in the before context. Okay, that's the first thing that gets executed, and then all the before triggers are executed. Now, once this happens, the system validation rules and the custom validation rules are run, right? If in case there's some validation rule in the system that fires, you get a error message, right? An exception that, custom validation or a system validation failed, and this is the error. This executes right after the before triggers are run. All right. So what has been executed right now? The before record triggers flows and the before triggers, all of them. Okay, right after the before triggers, you have duplicate rules, and if the record is a duplicate, no more execution, block the data entry. So if the system finds a duplicate entry and there is a duplicate rule that does not allow you to create a duplicate entry, it does not continue the execution and it blocks the data from being created. Cool. If there are no duplicate entries and the record is fine, the record is saved to the database, but it is not committed yet, right? A commit is different, whereas just saving the record to the database is kind of just creating an instance and making a copy and putting it in the database for reference, right? The commit happens right at the end, so we'll see where it happens. After the record is saved to the database, the after triggers are run, right? Your before triggers were executed. The next thing is after triggers. So all your after triggers are executed, followed by assignment and auto response rules, right? So if you have case assignment rules or lead assignment rules, any kind of assignment rules, or, any kind of auto response rules based on the dates that you have set on the record for specific objects, these are executed here after the after triggers. All right, what's next? The next thing is the workflow rules. Now, workflow rules is here in the picture right now, but as soon as it is retired and we no longer would be able to create it, this will go out of the order of execution, right? But right now what happens is after the before record triggered flows, the before triggers and the after triggers, the workflow rules are executed first, right? And in case of a workflow rule, if there is a field update, right, that's one of the immediate actions that we can do. If there is a field update, the system validations are run again, and the before and the after update triggers are run one more time, right? So this is a very important consideration till now, until workflows retire. Every time a workflow rule is executed in a context, and if there is a field update, the before and the after update trigger will run one more time and the system validations will run again. So if there's a system validation that's failing, you'll get an error here. Or if you have a trigger in before and after update context written, it will execute one more time, right? So this is the second time your update triggers will run, both before and after. After the workflow rules are completed, what's next? The escalation rules, right? The case escalation rules run here for Service Cloud implementation, and then followed by your processes and flows. So all your processes and flows execute here, and there is no guaranteed order of execution in terms of lightning flows, which is basically process builders and flows, right? There's no execution per se. There is something that's called Flow Trigger Explorer, wherein you can kind of prepare an execution, but as of now, the order of execution document tells us that you might not get a guaranteed order of execution in terms of processes and flows, but this is that segment where it will get executed. All right, and after this happens, all your after save, you remember we did the before record triggered flows at the very beginning, they were executed. Now all the after record save record triggered flows will execute here after everything has been done, right? And then you have all the entitlement rules, followed by, if there is any kind of roll up or a cross object reference, the parent is updated, right? So for example, you are calculating some aggregate values and you have a roll up summary field, or you might have a cross object formula reference created, right? In these cases, you need to update the parent, correct? So if the child transaction is going on and the parent has to be updated, this is where the parent is updated, and similarly the grandparent record can be updated, and so on, if there is a roll up or a cross object reference. Right? Now, once this is completed, criteria based sharing rule is implied. All the criteria based sharing rules are implied, and record access is given. Once the record access is given, the final commit to the database happens. And now the database commit has happened, which means the entire transaction has successfully completed. That's when all the asynchronous stuff, or the post commit processing logic executes at the very end, like sending out notifications, sending out email, any kind of future methods, queuable jobs, or any kind of record triggered flows which are in the async path, right? This is in flows, and there is a synchronous path and an asynchronous path that you can create. So any kind of asynchronous job or any asynchronous path that has to execute in context to this current transaction but it's not needed immediately runs right at the end. So that is how your entire order of execution works. Let's take a quick refresher of what we discussed. You load the original record from the database. If there is an record which is an update scenario, you would override the old values with new values. If the request is coming from a standard page, you would check for the layout specific and the basic metadata or data type rules. If a request is coming from a custom source, you go for foreign keys or relationship checks. Right? Only in case of a multi-line item creation, this could be quote line item, order line item, product line item, opportunity line item, only then custom validation rules are run here, or else they are not. Where are they run next? They are run next here. Now, before that, the very first thing that happens is before record triggered flows get executed, right? Record triggered flows in the before context, whatever you have written in the before. And then once the before flows are done, the before triggers are also run. And after the before triggers are run, the system and custom validation rules run here. All right. What's next? If there's a duplicate record, you would get blocked. You won't be able to proceed further. Duplicate rules will run. And then if all is well till this point, the record will be saved to the database, but not committed yet. Right? Now, since the record is saved, all our before stuff is done, we move into the after scenario. So after triggers are executed. After the after triggers, you have assignment rules and auto response rules, followed by escalation rules and entitlement rules. But in between those, you have workflow rules as the very first thing that get executed after the after triggers. And an important consideration here is that the workflow rules, if there is a field update, the system validation will run again, and the before and after trigger will run one more time. That's an important interview question. A good chunk of interviewers ask, right? And then after the workflow rules, all the processes and the flow builder execution happens, followed by all the after record triggered flows. Cool. After the record triggered flows in the after context is done, entitlement rules are here, and if there is any kind of reference made to the parent and the parent or the grandparent has to be updated, this is where it happens in this particular area, right? This particular section. Followed by the final thing is sharing, any kind of criteria based sharing that has to be provided to records. The sharing is provided to records and the record is finally committed to database. If there is no rollback, everything has worked fine and the record has been created, saved and committed to the database without any errors, all the post commit logic is executed, wherein you have written maybe some email alert or maybe some notification or some future jobs or queuable jobs, any kind of record triggered flows in async paths, everything is executed here, and that completes the entire order of execution of a single transaction, right? So this is all that happens behind the scenes when we just click on one save button or one DML command. We write in our code, and all of this happens. And which is why it is important to follow best practices, like ensure that we write a single flow or a single process builder per object. We put everything that we can automate in our before record triggered flows. Anything that has to be is not needed immediately can be written in future methods or async paths. So that it's important to follow all those best practices, and then we avoid the chance of running into SOCL 101 or DML exceptions or limit exceptions, right? So this was all about the entire order of execution. Take a look at this particular flowchart one more time, or just try to understand what happens when, and what's the next thing. It is absolutely not important to mug up this particular order of execution. A lot of people do that. All you have to just understand is what happens and where is the context. If I were to just tell you before things will happen before, after things will happen after, right? So these users have to remember that the before record triggered flows will run first, then the before triggers, and then followed by all the after triggers. And what about the processes? I mean the process automation tools. You have workflow rules followed by processes and flows. And after that happens, your record triggered flows in the after context run. That's all you need to keep in mind, right? And once you have this in mind, it will be very handy when you are debugging and when you are trying to write code and you are trying to assemble a lot of modular functions together in a single transaction. It will help you understand, okay, what should I do in which particular module so that I don't run into any kind of exceptions or errors. All right, so that was all from this video, order of execution. I hope I was able to explain this to you very quickly. It was not an explanation per se, but yeah, it's important to understand what really happens behind the scenes. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning. Bye.